What do they say about the first chance to make first impression? Number one, don't be late. I owe you 8 minutes of my life, so figure out how you want to extract that till later. So sincere apologies for being late. Thanks for your patience. So my goal today was to come up, kind of go through an overview of what's happening in social media, and most importantly, kind of overall the full landscape, right? So how do you dial in your social media if you don't know the full landscape? That's my goal today, is to show you what's happening with omni-channel marketing, and then come up with some plans on how you dial in your own social media. So that's what we're here to do today. All right, so how do I increase my social engagement? How do I understand the landscape? Where do I get started? And what's working? How do you scale it? So in order to best serve you guys, because that's why we're here, maybe I can get a sense of who's in the audience. So who's here to represent, who's either a designer or a sole practitioner? Okay, and who's representing a retail store? All right, and do we have any brands or manufacturers in here, representing brands or manufacturers? Okay, so a little bit of a good cross-section of different folks. It's kind of what I was hoping for. So when we look at how do you grow your social media, it really starts by first, and let me, side note, at the end of the slide is my LinkedIn contact. I'm happy to email the presentation to you, so take all the pictures you want, all the notes, but I'm happy to share the full presentation with you if that's helpful. And Tambra through the SSA also knows how to, we've scanned your badges, we know how to reach you, but we're happy to share whatever is helpful after the presentation. So here's our goal. Our goal is to help you identify your target audience. It may seem intuitive, but there's a lot of nuance. And understanding the nuance is all the difference about how you resonate and amplify your message. How do you develop your comprehensive customer persona? So that kind of dials in, I don't know who here has heard of like an ideal customer persona, like how to target who's most likely to engage with your brand. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. Help you figure out your brand voice. So part of it is once you understand what your customer is looking for from you, it's how do you authentically, consistently develop that brand voice. Identify the best channels. Part of identifying the best channels is understanding all the channels that are out there and the different channels by funnel type. So it's pretty common jargon in the e-commerce world of understanding your funnel. We'll go through a little bit of that. So you can understand the impacts of when to engage your customer and the impacts of what that engagement type will do for your brand and your business. The segmentation, and how do you segment your content, and how do you make sure you're reaching the right customer, again, at the right time. And then understand the read, watch, do. So there's different type of behaviors that you can get your customers to engage with that create different results. And then monitor, adjust. How do you make sure it's engaging? Well, part of it is that iterative process, right? What content gets all the likes, what content is shareable, what content people really love from you and your brand. That make sense? Am I missing anything that someone else wants to hear about? All right, well, I'm happy to have this engagement. The whole idea of a working session is that I'm giving you what you need and what you need out of this presentation or this content. So don't hesitate at any time to raise your hand or shout something out or whatever it may be. So omni-channel versus multi-channel. How many people are familiar with the term omni-channel? And for the people who raise their hands, when you think of omni-channel, is it overwhelming or is it like, no, it just makes sense, I know what I need to work on? Lots of cogs in the wheel. So what I think is a common, I won't say misperception, but what makes omni-channel seem overwhelming is the sense that you have to be on every channel. And you have to find ways to engage with your audience everywhere. And the reality is, particularly for independents or for small retailers, it's just not possible. When you're a multinational brand and you're trying to create $1 billion business, you got people all over the place, you got big budgets, it's a lot easier to engage in every channel or nearly every channel. But it's simply not practical, right? The main difference here is on omni-channel, it's making sure the customer stays in the middle. And the customer staying in the middle is part of why we need to spend time on that ideal customer persona. Because when you think of that customer, and you think of that customer first and what they need from your brand, that creates the cohesive messaging, the cohesive approach to make sure that everything you do gets amplified. So there's a 10x improvement in engagement and brand connection when you're consistently having that same branded approach throughout everything. Think of Apple, right? Or maybe even better, Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola, multi-billion-dollar brand, everyone knows it. What percentage of revenue do you think Coca-Cola spends on marketing? Any guesses? 5%? 10%? 20%? They spend 18% of revenue building their brand. Everyone knows Coca-Cola. Why do they need to spend that much money building their brand? Because they know whether you're at a ball field or at a stadium event, at an airport, in the grocery store, they want that consistent messaging throughout. So even when you're looking at the holiday messaging, they know, the polar bears and whatever else they're putting out for the holiday, they have a very consistent messaging. They're keeping that customer in the middle of that messaging. So whether it's introducing their brand to their campaigns, or it's all the way down to checkout, their Coca-Cola cases you see in the stores, it's all very consistent branding. So you get that amplified element of how do you build that brand? You have a really consistent message. The customer's in the center of everything they're doing. Multi-channel, that's the one that feels overwhelming because you're in the middle. You got to build your store out so it's consistent branding. You do have to do these things, but when you put the customer in the middle, it's a reminder of what you're doing it for. It's that common kind of thread throughout. So when we look at the target audience, maybe out here you can share with me some of the types of customers you're trying to reach. So we had some interior designers. So for some designers, who's a customer you're trying to reach? What's an example of a target audience?
People with tons of money.
Generally good, yeah.
That don't know what they're doing and want to trust me to get it done for them.
Okay, great. So you know your affluence.
Mm-hmm.
Are you serving a geographic market?
I'm in the Southern Los Angeles area.
Okay. So you know your audience based on where they're living.
Mm-hmm.
Any other attributes? Are they usually young families? Are they single people who travel? Are there any other factors? And the reason there's a slight difference between audience and customer persona, we'll get to that in a second, but the audience is like the biggest bucket. It has to do with geographic income, so your average project size, say $50,000, whatever the project size is. You have a sense on the type of big picture that you want those customers to fit. That's kind of the audience size. Any other unique attributes? Yeah.
I recently added to mine that I'm looking for people who are new to the area.
Okay.
Because it occurred to me after talking to another designer here, I live here, that it's all about networking and referrals and all that. And so I'm new-ish to the market. I'm trying to find customers that don't have a friend to ask
Yep.
what they use. Because I didn't work with their friend. But
Yeah, so for you, it might be someone that doesn't have a trusted source,
yeah,
because they're new to the area. All they know is the realtor.
Like,
Right.
yeah, exactly, the
Right.
builders and like builders and things like that.
Yep. Great. Any other kind of ideas about when people look for retail stores? Any other overall target audience? So for someone selling furniture or bedding, who would be your target audience? Is it similar to that or different than that from a big picture? So there's some of the things to consider. The other thing is, where in the purchase cycle are they? So that's one of the things to think through of when you're building your audience. Are you looking at someone that's really ready to buy right now, that's sale motivated, they've got money in their pocket, they're ready to make a purchase? Because that's what sale driver behavior does. Is hey, when you're ready to convert, that's when you need to hit them with a message. The timeliness is a factor. That also has to do with the other things that are going on in your marketing strategy. And then how will they find you? So are your customers looking online? Are they looking for a trusted source like the realtor where they came to the area? That's another thing to consider about the big bucket kind of target audience. And then what makes that customer unique? So you talked a little bit about demographics, and I don't know about your business about how similar those demographics are or not, but understanding your target audience has to be, it can't be everyone. If it's everyone, it's no one. So understanding who that audience is really important, because if you don't get it refined enough, it's so general, no one hears it. That's when it really gets lost in the shuffle. Hey, I'm a great designer. If you just moved here, I really want to help you. Okay, that's good. But imagine if we know this is your second or third home. We know you don't have time. We know you want to match the style that resonates with you. I'm your person because I can do these things. I've done it for the last 12 projects. Let me share some of my work. That's a very different kind of refinement of that target audience as compared to a general message. So ideal customer persona, this is when we get super detailed. So where are they? Like who are they in detail? What other brands do they follow? What other messages really resonate with them? Exactly how old are they? You talked a little bit about demographics in an income because they need to pay for your services. But if you're in a furniture store selling like open to mid-price product, they're probably a younger family. They probably have a budget in mind for their remodel project or for getting furniture in their home. So how do you resonate with them? Understanding, is this a parent with young kids that has, they're going to soccer games and their weekends are full, or they're traveling? Understanding this piece is, again, how you get your message to resonate, because doing this helps that amplification, helps your message be sticky. So if you don't have a sticky message, if you're not thinking through the different aspects of exactly who that customer is in detail, it's really hard to know where to find them. So part of building a successful social media campaign or any other marketing campaign is making sure that you know what that customer is looking for from you, and then you get real clear on how you deliver exactly what that customer is looking for. Has anyone worked through an ideal customer persona kind of modeling before? Raise your hand if you have. So you have? For a brand, for a company you work with, or for your target customer, for your business or another business?
I used to work in IT.
Okay.
So I did it for user experience.
Okay, great. Any other experiences developing a customer persona? So a little bit about my background. I've been in consumer products for 25 years. It's amazing how the years add up when you get older. My first chapter in retail or in consumer products was selling to big box retail. And I've done everything from furniture and home goods to sporting goods to electronics, all kinds of stuff. So I created a company in 2007. We had a product called the ChiliPad. And we made a mistake, or we had a lot of lessons to learn. What we found in sleep tech, and the ChiliPad is a product that helps you set the temperature of your bed to sleep cool or sleep warm. And we thought everyone that slept hot would be an ideal customer for us. So we spent time and money trying to place products in retail, spent dealing with a lot of independents. And I wouldn't say it was a disaster, but we grew to about a couple $2 million a year in sales, and we got stuck. We got stuck because we didn't know how to reach our customer. We were counting on a retail partner to reach our customer, and they didn't know how to reach our customer either. So our product just sat on the shelves in the independents. It had some decent turnover, but really not nearly enough. When we took over, basically it was in 2016, we decided we really had to own our voice in the customer and own that journey, right? So we started digital marketing. And one of the things with going direct to consumer, we found we made a mistake by trying to sell to everyone that slept hot. And everyone that was our customer was sleep hot message, right? When we can change our messaging from being customers that sleep hot to people seeking better sleep that slept hot, we grew our business 20x in the next 4 years. So it was incredibly impactful by being really specific about what that customer was looking for from our brand and finding a way to deliver a message that really resonated. And so going through this process of what is that customer looking for from us was sort of revolutionary in what we were able to do from a growth standpoint. And then we were able to build authentic relationships. So we sold over $150 million direct to consumer, spent, I guess, $40 or $50 million in ad spend over that time, all across different channels. We really learned the secret sauce on how do you scale business. my passion personally is helping bring new products to market, helping working with different companies all across the spectrum on how do we help people find scale, how do we help them find their voice, and that's what, I get so excited about having the chance to interact with other people that are looking to grow and achieve the things they're capable of. But understanding this piece will help you get into how you really scale that social media and your overall omni-channel strategy. Any questions on here that or points that kind of don't make sense or seem kind of far afield? Tambra.
Well, I don't really know about what your businesses are, so I'll be like a consumer. How do you know what other channels they look at? I mean, how do you know these things? Is it a magical thing that somehow you know it?
You're just supposed to go to sleep and dream about it. That's enough.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's a great question. Especially when you're really starting out to try to build that, get momentum or build something. It's an iterative approach, right? So you have to talk to your customers. And if you really at ground zero, if you don't even have any customers yet, fake it till you make it. Use some tools that are out there to see what other people like you are using. There's a great tool out there called SEMrush. So you can go to semrush.com, and you can, as a free tool, it's a great analytics tool. And actually I reference that later in the slide. So if I share the deck with you, you'll have SEMrush contact. You can use what they call inbound traffic, and you can look at their social media. Where are they getting their traffic from? So some small sites it's hard to see, but look, just like Apple did when they were launching the computer, they went and they knocked off other people. They didn't try to figure it out themselves. Find someone in the audience that's doing a really good job. Don't try to learn it all yourself. It's like, I won't say it's impossible, but man, it's a hard road. So until emulate someone else that's finding success, and then iterate based on what is unique about your characteristics, your audience, your customers. But to start at ground zero is really, really hard. And that's probably why you're here, right? Like, I don't know. I'm working on it, man. I'm putting the time in, and it's just not coming out in return. So find that look-alike. Any other questions or comments while we're kind of here? I'm going kind of fast. I have a bad habit with that. So when you look at what brands they like, what's their profession? Because that's, again, are they a blue-collar worker that's, again, on a budget? Are they a professional? That's gonna a little bit give you insights about how they're gonna consume content from you. Look at the variety of content. So I spent a lot of time in the health and wellness industry, partly with ChiliPad. And one of the things I was blown away with, even though you look at TikTok and super fast, really short shelf life social media, there's long form content that is magically effective for some brands. Like the 3, 4, 5 page, like in-depth, whether it's a video or video content or a long form text. It's amazing the types of different content people consume. And so to be able to understand what the customer's looking for from your brand will give you some insights on how to serve that content. All right, so there's a whole lot of stuff going on this, so apologize for that. But when we get into the funnel, when you look at, okay, I'm just gonna put a for sale sign out there, everything's 30% off today, is that gonna get customers in the door? That's really like your conversion part of the funnel. But if we start on the far left, with that awareness, that's how you're just telling people you exist. And so to think through the different parts of your media strategy of, when am I telling people I exist? When am I telling people, hey, I exist and I exist for you? You should really engage with my brand. You should be listening to what I'm saying. That's the engagement piece. The conversion is when you're really close to a purchase decision. I just bought my house, it's empty. I need to put stuff in there. I got Thanksgiving, it's 4 weeks away, what do I do? 6 months away, what do I do? Now you know you've got a specific event you're timing for. So if I were to say, okay, you're gonna come up, work together on a specific strategy, or maybe if it's new people, I don't know if it's people that are moving in the area or not, but hey, I know you just bought this house. I know you're gonna redecorate it. Or maybe it's someone that owns it and it's a little different, right? I want you to know that I'm the best in this business and I do this, and here's an example of my client roster. You should be aware of me. Now, I'm gonna create engagement. I'd love to give you a free quote. I'd love to do a 15-minute video call so you can understand my design philosophy and how I can make sure it's gonna emulate what you're looking for. Then when your time ready, what's the timing for your project? Are you 3 months out, 6 months out? To understand different purchases have different purchase kind of cycles. The bigger the ticket, typically the longer lead time, whether they're thinking about it, they're researching it, they're finding referral partners, they're trying to figure out validation. And the other thing that's missing often, that a lot of retail stores miss, probably the single biggest miss for retail stores, is advocacy. In the mattress or furniture business, hey, I bought my stuff, my room is upgraded, got my fabulous bed, I'll talk to you again in 8 years. It's terrible, right? You can't afford to just, now you have a happy customer, you delivered on time, your review team got 5 stars, and see them again in 8 years? Ouch. How do you give them a reason to advocate for you on Nextdoor, on Google reviews, on finding a way to make sure that they're telling people about the amazing experience they had with you? That's how you get the advocacy part. Now, do you have to do all of these things all right now? Of course not. It's not possible. But part of when we get into like the end of the, the 30-day plan is to figure out the things that are kind of most important for where your business is. Everyone's looking for more customers, right? So who's looking for more customers? Anyone not looking for more customers? Because you're doing a lot of things right. But a lot of it is understanding if you're looking for the most customers, you're probably starting closest to this in conversion, and you're gonna slowly move to the engagement, and you're gonna look to the advocacy, so you're making sure you're getting credibility from your previous customers, and then you're gonna slowly build that funnel outward. And that's how you're able to spread that without trying to do too many new things at once. The other part about this is you look at the bottom here, the color coding, part of it is paid. So how many people are doing paid marketing right now? Okay, and is it online or offline typically? Online. Anyone doing offline ads? Billboards, in-store, signage in the windows. Looking at the paid versus owned, how many people are putting out press releases? Okay, great. Are people here familiar with prnews.io? I don't know if you've ever heard of that. You can go and pay as little as $150 or as little under $100 up to $1,000, and you can get content produced under your brand posted on third-party sites. So you want to get, that's a hybrid between owned media, because it looked like you actually earned media. It looked like you earned it, but you're kind of paying for it in the back end. So there's paid, there's owned. Owned media would be getting a press release out there that the local newspaper picks up, going to the Chamber of Commerce events, going to the sponsoring a realtor luncheon. Yeah.
I'm talking about, is PR.io different from PR.com?
prnews.io. Yeah, prnews.io. It's a site where you can buy placement in accredited publications. So you're like, hey, I want to be in Beverly Hills Today, and let me go ahead and write an article that'll show up in Beverly Hills Today article, .com, and suddenly you're featured. You have a feature article showcasing what you can do for your community. Earned media, we talked about that a little bit. That's like literally getting the newspaper, things that your business is doing to get some media attention, and experiences. So in your store, not to be overlooked, but what's the experience? What's the connection you're making in the store? How are you making sure that resonates with the customers coming in, and you take credit for that along the continuum. Does that make sense to everyone? Any surprises or things that feel like they're missing? Is that overwhelming, or is that like, I kind of get it? A little bit of both, maybe?
I get it, but you're saying that if you're starting, you would start around convert and then move.
So typically, when you're looking for, it a little bit depends on the business type. So designers might be different than retail stores. But when you've got transactions happening around your business, the easiest thing to do is start with what's working and expand from there, rather than try something totally new. Because when you're, all of these aspects are really important, and they have to be considered on your strategy. But if it's like a 30-day strategy, like how to make a difference in 30 days, you start by, hey, how do I look at my customers that are converting and find more customers like them? And then figure out where I reach them and what social media are they on? The question is like, how do I know? How do I know where they're at? You gotta start by asking or emulating competition that's out there doing what you're doing today. And it could be in a different market.
So if I use that
SEMrush,
yeah,
SEMrush.
SEMrush, and then I looked at the engagement for like a competing interior designer gets all the likes,
Yep.
then I can get an idea as
Sure.
to following that, okay.
Are they coming on Instagram? Are they doing TikTok? Are they doing, Instagram Reels? Yeah, you can see are they doing it by social media? Or are they doing it by blog posts? Are they engaging on professionals using LinkedIn? And they're part of all the professional associations with interior designers. Some of the smaller firms don't have enough traffic where they'll show up on SEMrush. So it might be more appropriate for some retailers or larger companies where they can emulate who's doing it in a bigger way, because they need enough data where they're getting picked up on by some of the tools. So in terms of brand voice, and again, I know you're like, all right, I really want to just start figuring out where I post and how I post and how I get clicks and likes and shares. But back to that Coca-Cola example, being intentional on your tone, on the type of content, and on the emotions is really valuable to how you resonate and make sure that content is shareable and consumed, right? So we know the shelf life of the average social media content is crazy short. So putting it out there doesn't mean it's being meaningful to your audience. So make sure when you put it out there, you're using a consistent tone. Are you funny? Are you serious? Are you informative? And thinking through, my personal opinion is doing something that's closest to you is probably going to come across most consistent and most authentic. That's the other challenge when you hire an agency, is giving this, whether you're doing it yourself or people in your team are doing it, being able to get clear on this and writing it out will help your team do it in a way that's consistent. Maybe Bobby's the best social media guy you've ever met, and Bobby's great, he's doing a good job, Bobby leaves, and now Sally's taking the job. How do you make sure Sally's doing it the same way that Bobby did it for your brand? It's about kind of documenting this so you know how you want to come across. And it's consistent. When you look at some examples, any examples of brands that kind of like, hey, I love that brand, it really resonates to me? Allbirds or Southwest Airlines back in the day, or
Amber Interiors.
okay, Amber Interiors, okay, perfect, love it, I'm really familiar with it. Any other ones? Well, think about it. Think about the brands adjacent to your business that really resonate with you. If you're an interior designer, what are the brands that you love? Probably you want to be promoting or talking about brands you love, because that's going to communicate some of your design sense. If it's a retail store, figure out what are the brands you showcase in your store. Are they doing it well? Some brands are terrible at it. You can make a really great product, but they don't actually do a good job of helping you with messaging. But find the ones that you like, that make sense for your brand to help scale with, and emulate that behavior. So this is a little different example of that other slide. Retention and advocacy they're real similar about kind of that post-purchase. This is some of the content that would be appropriate in these different buckets. So is it through ads, through events? Is it, hey, meet the designer, and you're going to, can you partner with a boutique retail store? Partner with some of the people that are in this audience. Hey, I want traffic to my store. How do you create events in a space to create that awareness? That you can share it on social. Now you're sharing it with a partner, so you're pairing up, you're using their audience as well as the audience you're trying to connect with. So doing those partnership kind of events can be really, really impactful to create those different aspects. The reason I bring this up now is that these are starting to get towards the tactics on how to use the right tactics in the right areas to accomplish what you're trying to achieve. So when you're segmenting the content, you know, when you look at like newsletters, right? So newsletters are like, who needs another freaking spammy email in their mailbox every Monday morning or whatever? But some people read them, that's why they're there. If they weren't being read, they wouldn't be out there. And figuring out which content you can repurpose. So can you take a newsletter that you write on ChatGPT and then edit it yourself, make it your own brand voice? In fact, when you build your brand voice, you can tell ChatGPT, I'd like a 300 word, 500 word article with empathy that's showing the voice of this and all the different aspects of your brand voice. Have ChatGPT write it. You put it on your blog. You take snippets of it to create your video that you're going to post on social. And you're basically taking the same effort and you're finding 3 different ways to make that content really work for you. All in the same voice of what that ideal customer persona is looking for. So it's new people that came to town, but they're looking for someone that's informative and educated and experienced in the space. So content's different, right? So we all know this from our own experience. Okay, how many people have spend time on TikTok? How many people are embarrassed they spend so much time on TikTok? How many people are reading blogs or spend time on Reddit? So Reddit is this kind of crazy cold community. If you're not familiar with Reddit, you probably need to be aware of whether or not you should be there. The Reddit loyalists are unbelievably powerful customers. They tend to be early adopters. They tend to be highly educated. They're very discerning. They do a crap ton of research about the brands they partner with. They will go out there and scathe brands they have a bad experience with. You don't need to spend all your time there, but it's an important channel for people that are on it. That is like their go-to resource. All this to say, understand people, you know, who here likes to watch the content that they consume to help them make good decisions, the decisions they make? Are you a watcher? Raise your hand. Are you a reader? You want to read the content? Are you a doer? You really want to see that checklist? You want to see that poll? You want to see it? So you have a mix of everything, right? That's understanding from the customer. You can have the same type of customer that wants the same things from your brand, but if you don't give it to them in a way they're going to consume it, it won't matter. So there's the watchers, the readers, and the doers, and you can have a mix of content. You can take that same ChatGPT article that you create your long form blog that goes on your website that you're posting on social and it's in text with a couple pictures. Then you're going to create a video snippet of it, and then you're going to come up with a poll of a 3-question poll. Hey, tell me what's the top the brand name for, you know, hardwood furniture with a European design. What's your favorite brand? You know, fill in the blank, pick the top 3, whatever. But that gets you the kind of the content flowing. When you put some structure to it, it's a little bit easier to fill in the blank. Then monitor and adjust. So right now, so maybe let's get what's working in your social media right now, or your marketing, your omni-channel marketing. Someone kind of want to share something like, hey, I've been doing this recently and it's really feeling good?
LinkedIn videos.
Okay, great. How do you know it's working?
Because I meet people and I say, I saw your LinkedIn video.
Great, awesome. And how many people that you had a LinkedIn video you posted and you're like, man, I felt like it was just okay. And then afterwards, like, man, I really like that stuff. I saw it, I watched the whole thing. There's like the surprise engagement. Like,
Yes.
You just don't know.
It's been very surprising, yeah.
Any other engagement, or where people feel like they're doing something they're really feeling good about it right now? How do you know if what you're posting is working? Some of it's a long game, right? So that awareness piece, that's something you don't always know. You might not know for 30, 60, 90, 180 days. Some of it is a marathon. Some of it, and when I talk about being closer to conversion, that's because it sort of feels good to know what you're doing is bringing customers in the door in a direct connection. Some of that awareness piece, those are the 6-month kind of things you need to do over the long run to really build your business. They're important, but if it's like, hey, keeping the lights on, you can do a balance of what's keeping the lights on and what's going to keep the lights on in, you know, a year and 3 years, and build a significant brand of consequence. That's the difference of as you spread out that funnel, those funnel activities, that's helping. But you won't always know how much it's working because you don't always get the same level of engagement. Sometimes you do, but it doesn't always come back in conversions. So typical ways to track engagement would be shares, likes, comments, of course, watching website traffic. There's some amazing tools out there. So for particularly people selling high AOV products, so products, let's call it, you know, if your average order or average size is like, let's say $2,500 or higher, and you're spending, if you looked at, hey, I'm gonna spend 20% to acquire my customer, you can back into the math, right? So my sale is gonna be $2,000 or 20 grand. If I spent, you know, 20% of my revenue to acquire that customer, you can kind of figure out what's a good budget. But that can help you figure out not only what to spend, but, you know, over time, where to spend it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. All right, so that's gonna be what's the leads to grow into, right? There's another tool I really love these days for high AOV purchases. Dealfronts.com. You can put like a Google Analytics, or if you're using Google Tags, add this Google tag to your website. You will literally see every single person that goes to your website, if you so choose. So for a relatively low traffic site, where you're looking for the meaningful contacts, you know, it's crazy, they track it based on the IP address of where they're coming from. That's another way to be able to track the website visits to figure out what's working, what's bringing those customers to your website. And in some cases, it's appropriate to be able to reach back out to them. But then you don't know, it's like, oh great, I got 100 visits this week or 500 visits this week. But when you know who they are, you're very likely to be able to backtrack to how they find you. Yeah?
How's that on weeding out blocks?
What's that?
How is that on weeding out blocks? Because, for example, we get that through our Shopify, our back end is Shopify.
Yeah.
And we have a really good tracking system there. However, every now and then we get this list where 12,000 people in Pakistan suddenly started looking at our website in Colorado.
Right. Yeah, a tool like Dealfronts is not very good for higher volume sites. It's too much noise, right? So you don't care down to the individual who's going to your site, but if you're selling a high value ticket, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, you know, you might have 20 visits to your website a week. You might have 10, you know, might have one a day, where it's really valuable who actually went there. As far as, you know, you can do sorts based on where they're coming from. So I'm working right now with a partnership with a new company. They're starting out, and they want to sell, they're chiropractors, they want to sell a baby product that helps babies crawl, like brain development, because they're encouraging crawling behavior. Turns out that builds brain development. Well, they're looking at how do they grow their Instagram. Right now, I think they've grown it in the last year. It started in July. They're at 100,000 followers now. And they're all excited because they're backing into the e-commerce math. And you got 10% of their traffic to go to the website, 2% of the traffic converts. They now can see what their target customer is, their likely revenue opportunity is. They're all excited, and then they found out that 54% of their followers were international. Well, they're not gonna buy this product and ship it around the world because it's just not gonna make sense. So to be able to go into the demographics, your purchasing customer, if you don't ship globally, probably no one that's in North America, just take them out as part of your potential customers and your followers and your traffic, whatever. Because that's really important, right? So part of it is monetizing, figuring out how you monetize what's working, so you can understand how that can be impactful to your business. Yeah.
Just building off of the point that was mentioned before, we had adjusted our SEO and everything to exclude Pakistan specifically because I noticed an influx. We don't ship internationally of people from Pakistan. However, even after doing that, I am still seeing an exorbitant amount of people from Pakistan still searching or still going to our website. And so obviously that skews the data. I mean, you know, outliers, we're excluding them and everything. But I'm curious as to how you've dealt with this situation with other customers.
Yeah, so part of it is understanding, you know, so bots are gonna grow exponentially in the next 10 years, right? There's really not a great solution sort of in a macro level to stop them, and with AI advancements, the number of bots are growing exponentially by the day, right? right? So it's crazy. It's only gonna get tougher to distinguish between a real purchasing potential customer and bots that are scrolling your website for some reason. They're tracking what traffic is working and why. So they're looking at your website to understand what either to pull content off your website that is unique or is interesting, to whether it's shared. I won't get into all the devious things that are happening in AI, but that is a challenge. So looking at going through your Google Analytics to make sure that you're really aware of who's coming, make sure all your paid ads are really specifically targeted to the audience you're serving, and to make sure you're not paying for anyone that's not likely to purchase. It just comes down to really doing the analytical side of it. You know, it's gonna get tougher. It just takes a more discerning eye. You're already doing the sort. Can you get the bots to stop coming? No, you can't. You just wanna make sure you're not paying them to get there. And you wanna make sure that when you're being honest with yourself about growth and traffic and all that, you're looking for the traffic that's most important. Wish I had a better answer.
No, it's helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so going off on her question, as an AARP member, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would it matter if you have, so many followers from Pakistan? Like, how does that skew?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter in some respects. It just makes the data more messy,
Okay.
right? So it's not like you're gonna need to block, you can block certain countries from visiting your site and make it harder where they have to get on a VPN and, try to get around blocks. Generally, it's not worth the effort. I think it's more of a sense of, if you're seeing good growth, awesome, double check the growth is actually valuable growth. So that you didn't just find something that the bots really love and they tie onto, and you're like, oh my God, look at all this traffic, it's amazing. You're like,
Okay.
oh, it's actually not traffic, it's additive to my business.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So when it's like, how do we get to a 30-day, how can you actually impact your business in 30 days? And part of it is back to the very first slide of omni-channel marketing, of trying to not do too many things, right? In most cases, these are extra activities you have to find time to do. And if your day's already busy, how do you actually take time out of your already full day, or week, or month, to do these things? Make it a sort of a digestible plan of attack where it's something you can go put an hour towards every day and build into these different aspects of your business. So you can definitely figure out your target customers in a couple days. And that's literally walking out, getting rid of all the distractions, turn the ADHD off, which I have a hard time doing, and figuring out in 2 days, how do I figure out that target audience? The next 2 days, how do I refine that target audience to a very clear customer? Make sure you're putting your brand voice. So every time you create content, whether it's with ChatGPT or some other template, or it's just self-generated, make sure you're being consistent on that. When you're picking your channels, that goes back to try not to do too many new things at once. Pick up to 3 channels. So pick one channel you're working on and leverage what you've learned in this new approach into the channel you're already on, and pick 1 to 2 channels more. Don't try to be everywhere, because it's not probably going to be awesome content. It's going to be, So do things that are digestible, and not too much at one time. And then you can iterate, right? The whole idea is to monitor and adjust. So you can say, hey, this content was awesome. LinkedIn is very much an untapped for consumer product brands, where they're typically talking B2B customers. There's an appropriate voice and language there. You're typically talking to a knowledge seeker, you're talking to a professional. Understand the type of customer that's there and how your messaging should or shouldn't reach them. And then pull together a content example, calendar, excuse me. So how do you actually make sure that you're preparing these posts and the content that's really gonna be in a way that you can execute it? There's some tools out there, whether it's Hootsuite or others, where you can pre-plan your content. You can build it out. Hey, Sunday's my content day. I'm gonna shoot 3 videos. I'm gonna create some blogs, and I'm gonna figure out when do I actually release this and put it out using kind of a methodical approach. So you're not like, you wake up on a Wednesday, you're like, I don't want to be in front of people today. I don't wanna put the video on, I don't wanna deal with that. Everyone has those days, even, even high content producers, social media personalities. We're human, right? We have those days. So the way to get around that is when you're feeling creative, you kind of know what recipe you have to follow personally to get that creative space, then produce a bunch of content. If you have to change your shirt, great, change your shirt, do 3 different videos, and then post it, so schedule it. So you're able to really get credit for that effort and not feel like you have to show up, on that day and post it that day when you're just not feeling it. How it's gonna be in service to what you guys came here today? Any other questions? What did you hope to learn today that we didn't get a chance to talk about? Yeah.
So, my business is just me and an assistant, and I am looking at hiring a marketing firm, because I just feel like I'm not good at this sort of stuff.
Yep.
Do you feel like that is a good place to start, or do you think it's better to start trying to figure out things on your own and then move forward, like?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So firms are often as good as the guidance they're given. So you do need to figure out some of these things to give your firm good guidance. But hey, if this is a space, we still use digital marketing agencies to help us with what we're not good at. But we've learned over time that if you can't give them good direction, you're not gonna get results that are meaningful. And not all firms are built the same. So to find out who's doing something in your space, knowledge, experience in the space is probably extremely valuable. So if you're building a personal brand, well, you need to deal with an agency that's built other personal brands. Have them prove it to you that they're gonna be the right guys to build your brand. And then they're gonna need to know enough about you. If they're not asking great questions, it's gonna be a problem. But no, just like anything else in your business, I think that's why I love this space. And there's other people that have more ninja skills in digital marketing than I have, without a doubt, right? But the reason I like connecting with business owners is because I feel like there's a distinguishment between agencies that are doing the best in their space versus a business owner. How do you set yourself up to engage with agencies in the most productive way? How do you make sure they do great work for you? It's hard. It's not easy. But that's why it's entrepreneurship. Yeah.
One place where we're thinking about getting into e-design. So when you're narrowing down, well, that can be anyone. So are there helpful tools or?
You said e-design?
E-design, so where we go out and we just do design boards for, whether it's for designers or for someone, it could be someone in Louisiana, it could be someone in California, it could be someone who's just doing a design for someone who visually needs to see what we're doing as designers, but they're somewhere else. So what we're doing is we're giving them the visual, but they're gonna do the work. But they don't, so that could be anyone. So how do you have tools or any recommendations that, how do you narrow down something so broad? Is that where you just reflect on your brand and then it narrows itself?
In that case, I would probably lean into the product. So in your case, your product is your primary differentiator, and start writing through the people that you've had a great experience with your brand. Who are those people, and why do they have great experience with your brand? What are the unique qualifiers and why your product is different than everyone else out there?
Okay.
And make sure that they are part of your brand ethos and part of your decision on what channels to engage with, because that will make a really big difference on connecting with the right customers. So if they're designers, you're selling your tool to designers.
It could be design, absolutely. It could be a designer who.
Designer,
says, "Look,
contractor,
I'm
architect."
overwhelmed and I don't wanna make boards, or I'm not gonna make boards, I've got clients. My clients want to see the visual. We can make the visual and hand it to the designer, right?
Right, but you're probably looking to people that are looking for new tool sets, are probably more tech friendly. So if they're not, depending on what suites, is it replacing a tool set or augmenting what they do today? But they're gonna probably need to be a digital native, where they would understand why that product would be helpful to them.
Okay.
So you've gotta really quickly understand kind of the value proposition. Look, are they looking for efficiency? Are they looking for quality of presentation? Are they looking for making a bigger impact with their customers?
So I think where it's gonna get harder, where we have to really narrow down is, because what we don't want to become is, we don't want to steer away from, we do design work as well, but we don't want to be a designer assistant.
Yep.
We want them to just purchase what we already do
Yep.
from us.
Sure.
kind of. And then also they could be investors, that could be.
Yeah. So you are coming from being a direct participant in the space. Yeah, so you're segmenting out, but you're coming from an experienced person in the space, looking for a tool set that didn't exist since you built it. So now you're looking for partners that are looking to grow the business like you did, and you're saying, look, I built this tool set because I know this business, I'm an insider.
Yeah.
I'm looking for other people that are experienced in this business that also understand this tool set didn't exist until we built it.
I think we're kind of, because right now we're playing with doing individual packages that narrow it down further.
Sure. And part of it will be understanding, are they gonna write is it a $10,000 ticket or a $2,000 ticket? Am I doing it as a subscription, or am I doing it as, you know, a big purchase? But part of it is understanding that product market fit.
Yeah.
And then that's a little bit different. Some, you know, and you may talk to customers, give it out there for free or at a discount to start learning those experiences. You can connect with more customers. But that's a little bit more of a product market fit question to figure out how your product fits uniquely in the market and make sure the features match the price, match the value.
Okay.
And when you get that connection, then you can start figuring out how to amplify, right? How do you scale what's working? It's, you know, I feel like right now you need to keep getting this in front of potential customers, and it might be being methodical on a direct outreach on find the designers on LinkedIn or find the groups that are engaging and talking about your space to make sure your product's in front of them to get that feedback.
When you, let's say there's specific products that we know, tried and true, tested, we like them, if you add them to your content, do you have to ask permission to add them to your content?
There's a lot of gray areas. So, give me an example. So when you have,
We did a fun little board, just trying to do things on social media that are authentic. I feel like
Just tag 'em.
just the kind of, so we just kind of did like we're coastal, so like our favorite coastal looks right now. And like an example would be Crate and Barrel just came out with a whole new line of coastal. So we played some of their stuff and we liked this, what we liked about it. And I was like, ooh, should we have said like, is it okay, Crate and Barrel? We tag them.
No.
And I just
You'll never
tagged
get
them and I
permission.
felt like I'm good, we just tagged them.
I mean, the way it works in the business is don't ask for permission, you'll never get it. Tag them, and if they
Just
complain,
tag
take it down.
Okay, great.
Yeah, like, it's like,
I mean, I just don't wanna-
ask for forgiveness, you'll never get permission. And if you generally have a sense of like what's right and wrong, like
Okay.
just don't put it as your authorship and
Yeah,
it's
I just
fine.
always tag, and if it's somebody, if it's a designer, I always put their work, if it's a
Yep.
picture, I always put
I've
their.
never had anybody ask me to take it down.
Okay.
Feeling like free marketing for them.
That's
As
kind
long
of
as
how I
you don't
figure.
like do a like twerking video with one of their pieces.
Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
There is an audience for that.
It's such a fast moving space and the shelf life is
Promise you.
so short, yeah.
Don't pay for me to take it down.
Yeah.
That should be a good idea.
Any other questions or any other kind of, hey, I wish I could learn more about this? Yeah.
So, a two-part question. In your experience at this point in the game, an example would be, what you were saying, people just moving in, targeting homes that were just purchased, say, over $1 million, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Like sending them specifically a postcard.
Sure.
Does that still work, or
It
is that
does.
really, okay?
Absolutely.
And then another question, we have an e-commerce home decor, and we are in collaboration with a cigar shop, because we have a whole cigar, decor, collection. And I just happened to see yesterday their place was packed for the playoffs.
Yep.
So I was thinking maybe, sponsoring, food for the Super Bowl, because I
Sure.
didn't know they, you know, A2 is, providing, I don't know, I'll talk to the owner of the cigar
Sure.
shop. Does that work as well, again, or is that really more of a waste of time?
Yeah, so that's where like understanding the decision trees or like understanding from that customer, you know, like how discerning are they in food? If you're selling, you know, a $2,500 cigar outfit for take a wine room to make it a cigar room kind of thing, well, they might be more concerned about time and they might be really picky on what they eat. Like, so maybe, the answer is maybe, how do they make sure they know it came from you and you have a great brand experience?
Okay,
It, you know, might be, hey, that might be a good touch point for like awareness.
okay,
Hey, food sponsored by whatever, the premium outfit for home cigar rooms.
okay.
And to make sure that the messaging tied to that activity is creating a unique connection in their minds.
Okay.
So I didn't spend a lot of time on it today, but getting that emotional side of that connection is essential to locking in that brand content So when you're posting about you being in partner with them, you make sure the food's amazing. Not any food, but the food that represents your brand qualities.
Okay.
So if you're serving a premium audience, you don't wanna have probably Chick-fil-A nuggets in
Yeah.
there, right? You know, and I'm not saying to be
No,
like,
no, I
ridiculous, but
agree.
then you're like, hey, these people, oh my gosh, who are these people? I get it. Have less food that's amazing, and have it go fast. It's all
Okay.
empty. And then you're like, hey, if you're looking for amazing things like this, we understand you. We understand the food you eat and what you're looking for in your life, and we're your partner in this aspect of your life. You're creating that connection with them that's meaningful and would resonate with what your business does for them.
Okay, thank you.
And
'Cause
then
I'm more antiquated in my thinking, they're more.
digital.
Exact, I'm
e-commerce
an
first.
immigrant, they're digital native, I'm a digital immigrant, so a lot of this is so,
Sure.
you know,
There's so much to do, right? So part of it is balancing. So challenge your team to say, okay, I want to do this because this makes sense to me and it's authentic for me as a founder, but how can we amplify that and capture those connections? Maybe you tie it with a QR code that lets them set up a 15-minute video consult on how you can show what examples of cigar rooms can look like in your area.
okay.
Amazing. And then you cookie the traffic and you know where they came from because that QR code goes to a landing page that shows 5 examples of cigar rooms you built in your area.
Okay.
Cool. Now I know these people are interested in cigar rooms. And don't ask for too much information, just give me your first name and an email and I'll follow back up and we'll schedule a personal consult.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
And all you did was spend $500 or $1,000 on food.
Okay.
And you got, 20 contacts. Yeah,
I have a question about the Omni-Channel situation.
yeah,
So when I saw that, thing where the Omni-Channel makes the customer the
Center.
center,
Yep,
I immediately knew that I was on the multi-channel.
yep,
But how do I, because I have very little overhead.
Yep.
Because LA's expensive.
yep,
So I try to do everything myself, because I did work in marketing.
yep.
I just don't have the time. And that idea you had about front loading the social media, I've done that before, I slacked. But having Boosty,
Yep.
you can
Schedule
schedule
out
it, and
your
I don't
posts,
have
such-
to
sure.
be there for.
And you can still repost and refilm creative, go into a jump, but as far as like,
Yeah. But what about the other parts of the channel? Like,
So-
I want some bots,
Yeah.
take the content and fill it out and distribute to all those channels, and I don't have to worry about it for 2 weeks.
but here's the point, like,
That's it,
you
like,
probably
oh,
only
okay.
need, don't know all about your business, but if you had 10 customers paying 50 grand for an outfit, that's amazing. So you need 10 customers, you don't need 10,000, you don't need
No, no,
1,000.
no, I'm-
My point is, when you do everything everywhere, the quality tends to drop and you're not gonna resonate. So to find 10 customers where they are is probably way more valuable than trying to reach 20,000 customers and no one notices.
That's true.
That's the challenge of trying to do everything. Cause you have that like, there's a fear of loss, but if I'm not everywhere, they're not gonna see me, they're not gonna find me. You need to know where your last 3 customers, where they found you, and then what would be unique about your service that stands apart from everyone else. Do a video testimonial, like, oh my gosh, this person was so unbelievable. Every time you close a client, when you bring that bottle of champagne and say, oh my God, this is an amazing experience, love working with you, would you mind just giving me a quick video of your experience working with me? If you're not doing it, you should do that. Most important, most valuable thing you could ever do.
Yeah. I see. I
And if you
never
got
thought
whatever
about
happy customers, you're like, hey, I just, it's Valentine's Day coming up. I'd really love to bring you a little gift. Would you mind just recording a video with me real quick? Oh my gosh, you can still go back to them and ask. If your customers are that happy with your service, they'll give you back. Do that, and then figure out where you post that and repost that. You post that stuff once a month.
Yeah, okay.
So,
That's a good idea, because, a lot of people, we're not comfortable being on camera, but if you kind of, set up like a Q&A, like, what did you like most about it?
100%.
And they're comfortable answering questions, people have
100%.
polls and questions.
And you're like, you know what? Okay, if you're not really comfortable in video, you put your makeup on, you're really particular about your image in the space, then would you just give me a couple sentences and I'll put a picture behind it?
Yeah.
It's, again, some people don't want to watch, they want to read, and seeing a picture with the text is just as valuable. They don't need to see it on an Instagram reel for it to be meaningful to them.
You can even have their actual voice, like, you can use like CapCut with their voice on it, right?
Yeah.
And you can on your video.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what, that just happened for us at SSA in this market.
yeah.
I had a guy come in, a retailer came in and said, oh my God, this place is curated, so it's never been so so good, and he said, oh my God, Terry, we're loving it. And I said, it just came to me, would you put that on, can I put you on video? Oh, sure. So
Sure.
I videoed him with his little spiel, and I put it on LinkedIn, and got all this stuff. Another guy came in today, oh my God, I follow you on LinkedIn, I had to come and see the room and talk about it, can I be a member and this and that? I said, would you mind putting that on video? And he did a video, I made sure it was behind my sign, all that business. But so I did that twice, just in the last 2 days, little old me, it's working. So I'm just
Sure.
saying, it's a great
So
thing
you
to
could do
do.
a project, and then their voice in the background talking about what they loved about it.
Sure,
I have
absolutely.
customers I can actually do that with.
Yeah, oh, that's a,
Yeah,
that's a
so
good
that's
idea.
actually a good idea. Thanks, guys.
Well, I know we're out of time, I wanna be respectful for, schedules and such. Anything else, any other thoughts?
How do we get the slides, and then also,
Yeah. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
You can email Tambra. My email is just todd@catapultbpm.com. If you wanna email me directly. Like I said, I put my email in there, shame on me.
Say it
Don't be
again.
hard to reach.
Say it one more time. Todd at?
Todd@catapultbpm.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.